Tonight we shall sleep on a bed of fragments of silicon.
All right, welcome to another installment of Fragments of Silicon, my favorite show and your favorite show. I'm your host, Adam, and joining me as always are Petty and Gallix.
Woo.
And let us get to the news, such as it is. Gallix, why don't you start us off this week?
Uh, well, thankfully it's a short week at work on account of Labor Day, but thankfully it's a lighter week in terms of the amount of paperwork that needs to be done, so I'm not pulling my hair out. Um, uh, l- Not too much else going on. I think it'll be next weekish when my sister and her baby are up, which will be when we're doing the birthday things for her. But I already have my present and my card, so I just need to wrap it. Video game wise, been beating up Blue Fire Goldfish and Pokemon Scarlet mostly. Because of the four of the Treasures of Ruin, this is probably the best one and also has the best looking shiny by a significant margin. And that's what they're going to give out if we beat enough of it.
Mm.
I think that's all I got. Oh, the
Okay.
floors are almost done. Apparently, well, the floors are done, but they were also replacing a cabinet or something that involves some custom woodwork, so that's taking a while. But thankfully, it seems like it's not going to be a continued issue in terms of work really early in the morning.
Okay. Anything else?
No, that's all.
All right. Well, that means it's your go, Petty.
Well, it's been relatively a quiet week. Friday I had I guess the first half of my root canal done. They have a
What does
temporary. Hmm?
what does half of a root canal consist of?
Basically they clean it out, and then what I go back in for is they finish packing it and putting the permanent crown on it.
Hmm.
So they basically did half the job.
Let's see.
Um, Unfortunately, I don't know when that's going to happen because, for those of you who don't already know, I can't drive myself, and the dentist they want me going to is over an hour away. So one of my parents
I
need
mean,
to
a
take.
dentist is a thing where fairly frequently you can't drive yourself home anyway.
They just gave me some numbing medicine in my mouth. I could have drove if I wanted to. Well, if I was able to.
Right.
But so unfortunately, mom's time off doesn't activate until October, and because my dad's been on light duty, most of his time off has been going to try and cover the hours he's been losing. So that's going to be unfortunate for me trying to figure out how I'm going to get there. Because apparently the temporary crown I have in won't last until October. Or the temporary filling, rather. So that's...
I shouldn't be the one to suggest to say it because personally, if given the choice, I would rather have a tooth pulled.
If it
But there's always Uber.
the Uber would be almost $100 because it's almost an hour away. If it was one of my back teeth, maybe, but this was the front tooth. And I already have problems with the speech impediment. Pulling the front tooth would just make it worse.
I was saying I would
Mhm.
rather have a tooth pulled than use
Yeah.
Uber.
But yeah, unfortunately, even if, like, I wish I lived closer to the big city where I could just, jump on the bus or get an Uber, but yeah. Not exactly an easy doing, so we need to figure out how we're gonna make this work. Um, Also on Sunday, my sister took Soul to his first vet appointment. We found out he was about 14, 15 weeks old. We thought he was about 10. So
That
he's
explains why he's so big.
he even the vet still said he's still big for 3 months.
Right.
So they're thinking he might actually be part Maine Coon. So he might
Meaning
end
what?
up being a very big boy.
Ah,
For anyone who doesn't know, Maine Coon is the largest domestic cat breed. They get massive.
And the breed standards are largely about size, so they've been getting bigger because people try to breed them as big as possible.
Yeah. So that's going to be fun to see how that pans out in, a few months to a year. And on Saturday, we decided to take Soul on some adventures. I have his little backpack carrier, and we went around to there's a local cafe they're not advertised as pet friendly, but as long as Soul stays in his carrier, no one has to know because we went on a slow period, and he loved it. He got a little pup cup, which is basically just like whipped cream, and he found out that those are awesome. And then we
I'm
went to
assuming that's not the.
hmm?
I'm assuming they don't put a lot of sugar in that whipped cream.
No, it's just like literally fresh plain whipping
Considering
cream
that
that's
cats
whipped.
can't really taste cream or
Yeah,
can't really taste sugar.
yeah,
Well, yeah, that's not the concerning thing here. Sugar is kind of dangerous to cats.
yeah. No, the owner is a pet person, so she used to
Yeah.
make pup cups when she had her own standalone cafe.
I'm actually a little bit unclear about on how good or not dairy is for cats, but I won't
Um,
make
l-
any statements without knowing
Large
more.
amounts of dairy is bad, but especially for kittens, it's fine.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I suppose the lactose tolerance or whatever wears off over time.
Yeah. So as long as he's I think it's under 6 months, it's fine in small increments. And then we also took him to a boutique shop that my mom and sister like to go there a lot, and I was just kind of there for the ride. And the owner wanted to meet Soul, so I brought Soul in with me, and they loved him. And then we also went to the local pet store because we needed to find stuff for Soul because he's teething. So we needed to find things that were good for him to chew on and not cables. So all in all, he had a lot of adventures on Sunday or on Saturday. So that was fun. Also, I guess funnish thing for today. Monday or Tuesday, I contacted my therapist about possibly getting Soul registered as an emotional support animal, and she sent me the letter to get that process started. So yay! And I think that's it for me, life wise, gaming wise. Not really a whole lot. It's been just kind of existing. What did I? I think I'd just been like chilling out to like Hades and Power Wash Simulator. I would like to hopefully finish Digimon World Dusk this weekend. I was gonna do it Friday. When I got on there, I found I didn't save and lost about 6 hours of progress. Gotta love DS games. Wait, hold on.
I don't know.
uh,
I've never had a problem remembering to autosave, but remembering to save without autosave. But that's because I'm kind of neurotic about it. So,
well, it's the problem with World Dusk is it requires 2 button presses to
ah,
confirm that you are actually saving. I thought the confirmation was something else, and I guess I backed out of it and didn't actually save.
mhm.
So it was entirely my fault, but it still sucks. I had to redo about 6 hours worth of progress. But yeah, I think that's it from me.
Yep, that means it's my go.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, my news is about the same as it was last week, in that my mother's never-ending foot infection is in week 3.
Is it getting better?
It is.
Okay.
It's just cellulitis takes a long time to heal,
Yeah.
especially in older people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, quite frankly, she's lucky she didn't lose a foot out of this.
Yeah.
So it's just like tomorrow I have to go take her around town because she has banking chores to do, and
Mm,
she still can't put pressure on her foot for driving purposes.
mm,
So and I had to delay my doctor's appointment to next week because of this. Like, so hopefully, hopefully next week this is cleared up enough where she can stand for long periods of time, put pressure for driving, or she might have to go to the hospital. Like, so, yeah, I'm not concerned. It's just frustrating. Like,
right.
outside, outside of that, yeah, pretty much solidified plans for later on this month for my older brother's grand return to the States. Like,
Mm,
yeah, gamut of emotions there, since it's been about 10 years since he was last over here.
mm,
So, I mean, I've seen him in the sense that I have done FaceTime,
right.
but the decades since I last saw him physically. So,
Mm,
and in terms of gaming, let's see. Right now I'm playing Grow Up, the sequel to Grow Home. Uh, if you don't know what these are, we'll talk about them more in the topic of discussion.
yeah. We'll
So,
elucidate you in about 40 minutes.
give or take. Anyway, so yeah, that'll about do it for what we colloquially call the news. So, onwards to the interview. And this week, it is our grand pleasure to welcome the legendary Gooseman of Ultimo Ratio Games.
Hello. Nice to meet you.
Hello,
Hello.
how you doing today?
Uh, Good. Just busy. Just yeah, I always am. Just doing a lot of work on the game. So just yeah, just another day, and yeah, just working away at the game. So
Which does sound like a day in the life of a game dev. Nothing
yeah.
else. But anyway, so we like to get to know the people behind the studio, behind the game, and so on and so forth. And I'm sure this question, is going to be loaded with history. But what got you interested in video gaming, both on a personal and a professional level?
Um, well, I just liked playing games when I was young. I guess I started when I was 8 years old,
Hmm.
and I just played games since then. So that was probably 32 years ago, and so I guess I've been playing since then. Started with Commodore 64, and then yeah, pretty much played all of the games that came out back then. But these days, I don't have much time to play a lot of the games because, well, there's just too many games to play. So I don't really have much time to play much. The last game I played was probably Cyberpunk 2077.
Uh, like main campaign, or does that include like Phantom Liberty?
Just the main campaign.
Okay. And indeed, um, because this is especially poignant to your history, at what point did you realize that you could make games, so to speak?
Well, I guess I started making mods when I was 17, and that's when I was making levels for the Doom. And then after Doom came out, I just jumped on Quake, and so yeah, I mean, ever since Doom was released, I was basically just making mods. And then in 1998, that's when I started working on Counter Strike, and then in 2000, Valve hired me, and that's kind of how I started my career in this game industry. Yeah.
Indeed. It's quite a legacy to have, especially like going in at 18, 20 years old. Like, um,
Yeah, I
what?
mean,
Go ahead.
no, I mean that it's I guess, yeah, I mean, I guess I've got nothing to add. I mean, yeah, I was young, but I guess I got lucky. Yeah.
I mean, it's one way of looking at it. Like, but I suppose the question there is, did Valve ever tell you what they saw in you to hire you on?
No, I mean, they didn't tell me anything about myself. They just said we really like what you did with Counter Strike, and basically, I mean, it was kind of obvious the game was doing well, and so they just basically said, um, we want to be a part of it, and we want to help to make it grow and to be something bigger than it was at the time. And so yeah, that's basically how they kind of approached me. And yeah, I really love working with them, and like I really held them in high regard. So it was an easy decision for me to join them.
And I suppose rewinding a bit here, what was the inspiration for creating the original Counter Strike mod?
Um, I guess I was just a big fan of games like Rainbow Six, and also I also like to play a lot of Quake, and so it was just basically my fascination with like the whole theme of counterterrorism, and basically I just kind of combined all of that into making Counter Strike. Yeah.
Okay, I mean that makes sense. Also, on this aside, I miss Rainbow Six. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I missed the last good one that I really enjoyed was probably Rainbow Six Vegas. Yeah, I don't
mm,
I don't really play much of Siege these days, but yeah, that's kind of why I actually started working on this game that I'm working on right now, because I kind of really missed that co-op, like those co-op experiences that I had with Rainbow Six. Yeah, Rainbow Six Vegas was probably the last one that I really enjoyed playing a lot.
I mean, there's definitely a hole there, because yeah, um, they were never the most popular um, type of FPS game out there, but they certainly had their niche. And
I mean, I would agree. I mean, I think the original Rainbow Six games, they were really slow paced and very strategic and tactical. And yeah, I think the audience that played them, they were much more I guess they weren't as big as people who played Quake for sure, because Rainbow Six kind of had a smaller audience. But I think with games these days, like when we see the success of games like Ready or Not, and I think that there's a real appetite for these types of co-op shooters that involve kind of like police, kind of like tactical shooters. But so yeah, I just think that there's an audience for these types of games. Like if they made like a Rainbow Six Vegas like sequel, I mean, I would love to play that. Yeah, but
Right. I mean, certainly there are success stories in this genre, not necessarily. Well, the other way around. The Payday series comes to mind.
yeah, Payday. I definitely agree with you. Payday was a great game, and I think it had a huge audience because I think Payday is much more. Um, it's not as like slow paced as like the original Rainbow Six games, or it's more. It feels more like Left 4 Dead, I think, and that's kind of the kind of game style that I kind of enjoy when I play those types of games, and that's kind of what we're trying to make with Alpha Response, kind of like a very fast paced kind of shooter that kind of combines elements of Left 4 Dead with like the themes of Counter Strike.
Hmm. That sounds like a tricky balance.
Uh, I don't know. I mean, Left 4 Dead, it's fast paced. Counter Strike, it's just. I mean, it's. I mean, I guess it hasn't really been done before. I mean, because I guess if you look at games like Ready or Not, they're much more slower paced. But I don't know. I think that there's an audience that would enjoy a game that's like fast paced, like Left 4 Dead or Payday, but kind of you get to play
Hmm.
as a tactical police kind of thing.
I mean, that would probably help in the marketplace, since you know having a thing to stand out um, certainly helps get noticed.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, being able to say that we're kind of like we're different than games like Ready or Not. We're not as slower or tactical, but like we kind of have like our the action is similar to like Payday, but the themes of it are similar to Ready or Not, where you get to play as the cops.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Well,
I guess yeah, that's kind of a unique selling point for us.
Kind of like Ready
mm,
or Not without the rules, pretty much.
I mean, it's Ready or Not, but it's probably much more action focused and much
hmm
more. It feels much more like a Fast and Furious movie where
hmm
like the pacing. No, actually, well, I guess the best way to describe it is if you've ever played those Japanese games in the arcade, like Virtual Cop or Time Crisis.
hmm
Um, I would say it feels a lot like that in terms of like the pacing, like in terms of the action, like the amount of enemies that you kind of fight, and like the frequency in which the enemies kind of come at you.
hmm
It's it's very fast paced. Yeah.
yeah, that is very fast pace for an FPS. That, yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I guess, but I mean, like, if you've played Payday, you can, you the pacing in our game is actually pretty similar to Payday or Left 4 Dead. So I mean, I wouldn't say that we're the first FPS game to have this type of action pacing. I mean, heck, even like games like what is that, like even like Warhammer, like the new Warhammer, the recent Warhammer game, the
hmm
co-op shooter, where
oh,
like the action is crazy. I mean, you're fighting like hordes of enemies. So I mean, like,
right.
I wouldn't say our game is unique in our pacing. Our pacing is actually pretty. It's been done before in other games like Left 4 Dead. It's just the
Okay.
way that we combine it with the themes of like counterterrorism, like with like the themes of like being a police officer, a special forces police officer, like in Counter Strike. I guess that's kind of unique. I mean,
hmm
um,
Yeah. I suppose to circle it all back around, especially given your legacy, how does this game compare to Counter Strike?
Well, it's a PvE game. It's a completely different audience we're targeting here. It's not a PvP competitive shooter. It's basically it's co-op shooter. It's you can play it single player or you can play it with up to 4 players. So I mean, I would say our audience is more similar to the types of players who would enjoy a game like Left 4 Dead or Payday or Deep Rock Galactic or any sort of co-op shooter basically. So we're really targeting a different audience than Counter-Strike.
Mm.
I think that's good to clarify since, well, not for nothing, but the way this game has been marketed, not just out there, but like to us specifically, is that this is the new game by the co-creator of Counter-Strike, and that's the kind of phrase that will lead to certain expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I see. Yeah. Well, hopefully people will take a look at the trailers and like this, and they'll get a better understanding of what the game is about. And so, I mean, yeah, I mean, like when you go to our Steam page, it basically says it's a single player co-op shooter. So, people should kind of understand that it's not Counter-Strike based on just that description alone. It's not a PvP game.
probably probably a good thing. Um, and I suppose to shift forward, where is the game in terms of development?
So we've been in early access since last November, or I guess it's been almost a year, I would say, and we've been steadily improving the game since then, and I feel like it's in a pretty good state right now. The version on Steam right now is it's pretty stable. A lot of the players that we've been playing with, they haven't really reported much crashing. There's just a few kind of minor bugs and just some polishing that we want to take care of. But I would say stability wise, the game it's actually in a really good state. I mean, I recently just took it to a game show in Germany called Gamescom, and I was playing it for like 3 or 4 days with random strangers, and each day I would play it for like maybe 8 hours, and we didn't get any crashing during any of those play sessions. So I would definitely I'm just really just kind of confident that our game is in a good state in terms of not having too many crashes. But yeah, it's just the minor things that we're working on, like just polishing up the graphics. Um, yeah, improving the UI in certain areas. So just little minor things that we're working on while it's in early access, and so we feel confident that that it's gonna be like finished and ready for the final release, probably sometime in the middle of next year or maybe early next year, 2026. So I feel like we're on a good track to that.
Hmm. Like, I suppose a bit of notification. Your early access notes here say that this game was supposed to be in development for about 12 months. And, we are approaching that in October. So,
Yeah, I mean, those dates are always kind of hard to nail down, especially like a year. I mean, we came up with that timeline probably last October, so we probably have to update that. So
yeah. Um, okay, so that's stability. What about content?
so in terms of content, I feel like we have quite a lot of content considering it's an early access game. We have almost 40 unique missions, and each of the missions are handcrafted. They're not like procedurally generated, so we kind of take the time to create each mission, just set them up in the world, and each of the missions they take about maybe 8 to 10 minutes to complete. So there's a quite a lot of content in there for people to kind of play, and each of the missions they have a lot of replayability as well. Because they're non-linear, and they're not like when you play a game like for example like other games, like I guess even Payday, I would say Like the maps, the missions in Payday, they're a bit kind of linear in terms of like the flow. Like you kind of move from point to point. But actually, I would say no. I would say our missions are kind of they're a bit more open-ended. They're not as like straightforward. And so, and because of that, we have enemies that kind of come in from different directions, and we have a lot of enemy variety that it just makes the game feel very it just makes the game have a lot of replayability, because I feel like each time I play each mission, it feels a little bit different than the last time. So I can't really expect to play the same mission the same way twice, and so I always have to kind of like adjust my tactics, even though I'm playing the same mission again, because of the way that the enemies kind of spawn in and the way they move dynamically. So yeah, I feel like in terms of the amount of missions that we have a good amount, and in terms of like enemy variety, we have like, just a lot of enemies. We have like probably 7 different like enemies on foot. Like we have suicide bombers, we have enemies that throw grenades, we have enemies that have shields, we have like juggernaut enemies that have a lot of armor. We even have vehicles as well. So and the enemies can sometimes they'll drive into the mission like on a car, and then they kind of arrive in the mission and they kind of unload, and then so it's just we have a lot of different enemy varieties compared to other games, like for example Ready or Not, where there's basically there's a few enemy classes. Like you have the enemy with the gun, and I'm not even sure if they have I think they have a suicide bomber. But anyway, I just feel like we have a lot more enemy variety than a typical tactical shooter. I feel like our enemy variety kind of compares a lot to a game like Left 4 Dead, where in Left 4 Dead you have a lot of these different types of enemies that really force you to kind of play the game in a different manner. Like for example, like the spitter, he'll throw like pools of acid in front of you, and you kind of, and also the like you have enemies that kind of drag you into different areas of the map. So all of these different types of enemies, I feel like they kind of force you to kind of constantly be on your toes and just kind of be aware of that. And that's kind of what that's what we were trying to recreate with Alpha Response, because we wanted to create a lot of different enemy variety in hopes of making the player kind of always be aware of his surroundings, and not just like camp in a corner and just kill all the enemies like that, like you can really do it in some games. So yeah, we
Oh,
just
that
wanted to
brings
kind of offer a game variety that was just very like very dynamic. I think that's the key that we wanted.
Well, I mean, I assume that's been the response from the community so far.
Yeah, I mean the players that have played it have they've had positive feedback with regards to just the enemy variety for sure is a highlight. Most of the players have enjoyed just I think the non-linear setup in which the missions kind of take place, and yeah, I think definitely the enemy variety is a big selling point for us.
And are there any plans to introduce any new varieties of foes?
Yeah, there's a few in the pipeline that we're gonna be adding. I'm not sure we'll have them ready for the 1.0, but I mean, uh, we'll see. But I mean, I think we have like probably like 8 or 9 different enemy types right now, and I feel like it's a good mix of enemies. I mean, we have dogs, we have drones, we have. I mean, like I'm not gonna be adding dinosaurs or shit like that. So there's only so many things that we can add that makes sense in a real world setting. So um, I feel like we have a really good diverse range of enemies as it is.
No zombie modes for this game.
Uh, I mean, we've had some requests for a zombie mode. I don't really think. I mean, I'm not gonna rule it out. I mean, if enough people ask for it, I don't think it's gonna be. I wouldn't really rule it out. I mean, I don't really.
That'd be something
I mean,
like a
I'm
joke
pretty sure
for
someone
April
can do a
Fool's or
mod.
Halloween event, but not like
Yeah,
a permanent fixture.
yeah, or even someone can just make a mod, because I think I would like to have. I mean, if we have time, I would like to make a SDK so players can kind of create their own mods for the game. But
I guess I should
I mean,
ask: is this built on Source, or what are you using to build this on?
it's Unreal. It's using the Unreal 4
Mm.
4.27 engine.
Oh. Um, why Unreal 4 and not Unreal 5?
Well, the game started before Unreal 5 came out, and we had well, I mean, there was a time where we could have switched it over to 5, but um, we have a small team and we don't really have a lot of resources to do like we just wanted to focus on other things, like because doing a proper port would have set us back several months, and it's not something to be taken lightly. And just considering
No, it's
the
not.
size of our team, so considering the size of our team, we just felt like we just wanted to focus on just kind of just working on the game and making it as good as it can be on Unreal 4. Because we're really happy with what Unreal 4 gives us. I mean, in terms of like the um, just the performance is pretty it's pretty good for a lot of us, and a lot of our players, a lot of our developers and players, they actually have some pretty poor computers, like their GPU is not the best, so they're able to kind of run it on lower settings, and so that's kind of what we kind of wanted to we wanted to have the game playable on lower end machines.
Okay. Um, how achieved has that been?
I think right now it's in a pretty, I mean, it's pretty good in terms of performance wise, I would say. We're always, we're always looking to improve the performance whenever we do, and whenever we run into issues where we can see some things that we can fix. But I think for the most part, I'm pretty happy with how it's performing. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm playing it on a 4070, and I can run it. Yeah, I can run it on pretty high settings and ultra. So yeah, I would say it performs pretty well, and there's always going to be room for improvement, like further down the line if we notice certain areas that we need to kind of take a look at. But for the most part, I'm pretty happy with the performance.
That's good. And what are the minimum required specs?
It's if you go to our Steam page, you can see you can run it on basically an i5 with an NVIDIA, like the old GeForce 1070s. That's our minimum spec.
Okay. So yeah, that does sound fairly robust in today's world.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to set all the details down to low, but I mean, you can run it
Mhm.
on those machines for sure. But um,
Yeah. Uh, anyway, so in regards to some, at least according to the roadmap here, soon to be implemented features. The first of which we were actually debating about amongst ourselves if was implemented yet, and that is teammate AI. Is that in the game?
not yet, but it's definitely a high priority for us, and it's something that we're going to be working on really soon now. Once we, uh, right now we're just working on the current version that we're working on. Just is it's fixing some minor bugs and some balancing issues with some of the missions. But once we're done this current version, we're going to focus on adding the teammate AI because it's a really big feature for us, and we want to have that ready.
Okay. And like how difficult is it to implement that in this game?
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, like in terms of like a timeline, I can't really give you an exact timeline. Like if it'll be a month or 2 months. Um, yeah, it's just hard to say in terms of I mean, it's gonna be difficult, but I see how we can do it. But it's just like it's just like any other feature on the roadmap. It's just a matter of just kind of just jumping in there and just trying to you know analyze it. But no, I really think that it's doable for sure. I mean, obviously other games have done it, so I have an idea of how we want to implement it for sure. So I think at the longest, I think the longest it would probably take is like 2 or 3 months, but it'll definitely be in there for the final release because it's one of those key features we need to have.
Mm.
I would agree to that, especially since not everyone is going to be able to gather a pack of friends to play the game.
Yeah.
Especially as they gain jobs and things like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, do you play co-op shooters? Have you played like Left 4 Dead or?
We've played a bit of Left 4 Dead for the channel.
Mhm.
Let's just say our cohesion in the best,
Yeah.
mainly because certain people here don't like first-person games.
Okay. Yeah.
Like,
Well, like
So.
I'm also more of an MMO raider as well, so
Mhm. Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
But anyways, yeah. Just curious.
mm,
but yeah, like we've done some co-op,
yeah.
just not a whole lot of it. So, uh, at any rate, in terms of graphical features, I'm seeing ray tracing is being promised for implementation, which is kind of the hot graphical
Yeah.
trend going on here.
Yeah. We're
What is
looking
ray
into it right
tracing going
now.
to do?
Well, ray tracing basically improves
Okay.
the lighting. It improves the lighting and also the reflections. Um, but it comes at a cost, and um, sometimes adding it will kind of raise the minimum requirements, and so we won't be able to support people with lower end
Mm,
GPUs. So like we're trying to look into ways of implementing in a way that people can kind of so then it can be balanced and it can work on lower end GPUs. But yeah, I can't say that it's going to be like a guarantee to have it in, but we're definitely looking into it right now, and so it's something that we're definitely trying to implement. But yeah, I mean, once we do add in ray tracing, if we do get it to work in a acceptable manner, it should basically just kind of improve the lighting of the game, and that's pretty much what it does. Improves the lighting and just the reflections. Like
mhm.
so, if you go into see a mirror, the reflections will look much more realistic.
Okay. And pricing. How much does the game cost right now, and is that going to change as 1.0 approaches and is breached?
So right now we're sitting at $20. Yeah, $20, $20 US, and so we're currently speaking with some publishers, and so depending on the publishers, if we sign with a publisher, we have to kind of speak with them on how they want to set the pricing. And so I can't really say what the final pricing will be at this point because it depends. It really depends on the publisher that we eventually sign with, and so that's something that we need to determine at a later point in time.
Fair enough. Now, is signing with a publisher just for, say, the purposes of marketing and distribution, or is that also to get the game onto consoles?
I would say it's a bit of both. I would definitely the publisher will definitely help us in terms of just raising the awareness of the game because right now we're not really uh, able to do that because it does cost a lot to do the marketing,
Mhm.
and also they will also help us to kind of um, kind of bring it to a console. Depending if the game does well. I mean, we'd love to put it on a console, but it really just depends on how well it does on the PC.
I suppose that's fair enough. Though I suppose an alternative to that is finding, a port house to bring the game to, like the Xbox or the PlayStation or whatever. Um,
Yeah,
but
I mean,
I'm
but it only
sure.
makes sense if the game does well on the PC. Like if it doesn't do well on the
Right.
PC, then it doesn't really make sense for us to hire a port house because they cost money. So,
Yeah,
it's just a matter of just looking at yeah. I mean,
sure.
it just really time will tell. It's just something that we'll we'll look into that once we uh release it on Steam, like in the 1.0
Possibly,
version.
possibly, but I can very much imagine a publisher having a condition of this game coming to consoles as a prerequisite to signing. Certainly heard that one before. But
Yeah, I mean,
we'll see what.
we've talked with some publishers that are willing to just focus on the PC first, and then so yeah,
That's good.
that's just a matter of. I mean, I assume you've dealt with publishers before yourself.
Mm-hmm.
We've had them on the program occasionally, not as much as game developers, but they do show up and they have their own perspectives, and which is why we can kind of glean insight there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Um, yeah,
that's that's kind of been my experience. They do want it on the console, but I mean, we have talked to some that are basically they kind of agree with us that like it doesn't make sense to put it on the console unless we first focus on the PC version. So that's what we're doing right now.
that's actually good. Because yeah, trying to crowbar, let's say, a console release can be quite detrimental to the entire affair. Like,
Yeah, I would
uh,
agree. I think it's a lot of work to just make the PC version a good product. And I mean, I just look at games like Ready or Not, where they really made a great PC version first, and then they focused on the console. I mean, a lot of games do this. Like Rust did the same thing, where I mean, there's tons of games that just go on PC. They make the PC experience good, and then they just put it to the console.
Yep. Escape from Tarkov. Hell, Counter-Strike 2. Still only PC, and it's been doing really well as far as I know.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, in terms of the PC itself, are you developing it for Windows, or are there going to be versions for Mac and Linux as well?
Right now, we're just focusing on Windows.
Not surprised, especially with a game like this. It's like I know there are people who game on Mac and Linux. Those people are especially a very dedicated breed, but it's like I know where the audience actually is in terms of PC platforms.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of just cost. I mean, we could like if the game does well, we can afford to do a Linux port.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Then yeah, that's something we can consider. But right now, we're such a small team that we need to focus all of our efforts on making one platform.
Yeah, I suppose it's worth asking how big is your team right now?
It's like 8 people.
Less than I was expecting.
Well, at one point we had 20 people, but
Hmm.
the team kind of it fluctuates based on just due to budgetary constraints. But yeah, right now we have like a core group of 8 people.
I'm like, hopefully you're not stretching yourselves thin to develop the game.
No, I mean we're pretty comfortable.
Okay. And I suppose my final question is what's the post-launch, 1.0 launch roadmap looking like here?
Oh, so after 1.0, well, we'd love to do like DLCs. If the game sells well, then the opportunity to do like more DLCs is something that we like, because there's a lot of areas that we would like to focus on, like different parts of the world. So um, yeah, we'd love to do
Like,
more DLCs.
okay, and would the DLCs be free, paid, a mix of both?
Uh, I would imagine that DLCs would. I mean, actually, to be honest, I can't really say because this is something we'd have to discuss with the publisher. There's so many factors that
Right.
goes into the pricing model. I mean, like,
Hmm.
whether or not, it's like, it's not possible for me to say at this point. So no, I can't really comment on that or give you a definitive answer.
It's fair enough, I think. Right. So I think I've run through my gamut of questions, so I will turn the floor over to my colleagues here to see if they have anything additional for you.
I actually have something about kind of tangentially related to consoles. Do you have controller support implemented into the game?
No, not yet, but that's definitely something we plan on implementing.
And have you decided if like any matchmaking is going to be split between controller and keyboard and mouse, especially this being a co-op game? Some people don't like playing with people
No,
who play on controllers versus
well, I
keyboards
would
and
imagine that.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but for a co-op shooter game, I don't think that's an issue. I think that's more of an issue for PvP games. Um,
Fair.
but for a co-op
I think you
shooter,
might be
I don't really.
slightly underestimating how toxic people can be to their own teammate.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah,
hope not.
well, I don't know. I mean, it hasn't really. We haven't considered adding that in, but I
Yeah.
mean, definitely we want to add in controller support because there's been some people
Right.
that have requested it.
Yeah, because I know some people sometimes, like when they're having a port house do it, they let them worry about the controllers. Some developers like to make sure they have controller support set up themselves before sending it to port house. It's basically a matter of preference.
Uh, I see. Yeah, but anyways, we wanna do the controller implementation
Mm,
ourselves, and then that'll make it easier for us to do a con support later
right,
if that comes up.
right. And I think that's it from me.
Mm.
Right. Gollets?
Pretty good, thank you.
Okay. All right.
Mhm.
So yeah. Gooseman, I want to thank you for taking time out of your schedule and being with us here today to talk about Alpha Response. It's been a very lovely conversation.
Okay,
Look forward to
thanks.
seeing. Yeah,
All right,
we
thanks
look
for
forward
having
to
me.
seeing. Yeah. All right. So the game is Alpha Response. It is currently available in early access on Steam, going for 20 USD. So be sure to pick it up today. Petty, place to the next segment.
Okay, all right, thanks for having me. Okay, have a good day.
Right. So welcome to the topic of conversation. And this week we are going to be talking about Atari. Not in the retro sense, which I know is the usual conversation around the Atari brand. Not the least of which is what Atari's been doing recently. And that's been really leaning into the retro stuff that they have or have acquired. It's ranging from everything to the seeming never-ending anniversary that is Atari 50, because that is going to be getting its fourth DLC
Hey,
pack.
we're going to be on Atari's 50th anniversary until we hit like another major one.
Like at this rate, probably Atari 55. Like I think at that age, anniversary, the important years get put into the 5 category. Like, but um, to a lot of their merch being retro focused, like merchandising, Missile Command as much as you can, and Centipede. all of the classic Atari names that you associate with the Atari name. No, that was not intending to rhyme there.
It's fine.
Two, pushing the shit out of Bubsy.
Yeah, Bubsy's come back from hell, lads.
Well, people
I think this is kind of impressive. There's no such thing as bad publicity, because the reason why they're reviving Bubsy instead of Aero the Acrobat is because Bubsy is mimetically bad, so it's funny to do more of it, and people will probably hate by it.
There's a term for this: postmodern irony. Postmodern irony revived this fucking Bobcat's career. To the point that we are getting the third new Bubsy game in as many years. Not the first, the third.
Literally, YouTube is the reason Bubsy isn't dead.
Yeah, not just not dead, but not confined to the realm of re-releases and stuff like that. Because,
or even just shoved in the Atari vault.
Well, the Gex trilogy got a re-release not too long ago, for example. But that's about all Gex is getting. Whereas
even though
Bubsy,
I would wager
Gex's reason for being mimetically relevant is because Gex has 3 different comedian voice actors or more that never stop spewing memes, because that's the kind of character it is.
Bubsy's actually had multiple voice actors himself. In fact, on that matter, we're going to be having the new voice of Bubsy on MSP in a few weeks.
Oh, I'm not saying Bubsy isn't. I'm just saying Gex's games weren't awful.
Yeah.
Right.
I would actually like to play more Gex. I don't want to see Bubsy grace my monitor again.
I mean, the thing is, they keep getting good developers on the Bubsy games and just kind of been making their game with the Bubsy skin. And that's happening again with Bubsy 4D, because they've got Fabraz developing it, which they're the developers of Demon Turf. If you don't know, one of the hotter 3D platforming games from the indie scene in recent times. And yeah, not surprisingly, the game is looking like a worse version of that. Now, granted, the game is still in development, so how good the game is going to look, is still up in the air. I do want to preface that, but but like the previous 2 times, this also happened, where they got the developers of the Gianna Sisters remake, Black Forest, to do a Bubsy game, and it played similar to that. And then they got Choice Provisions, developer of the Runner series, and not surprisingly, that Bubsy game played like a Runner game. So it's a weird trend, but an understandable one with Bubsy. It's like, try to attach him to a good developer that can do a decent game. Maybe one of these times that'll actually catch fire.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of the Bubsy game, the modern Bubsy games that we already got, they seem to be decent as platformers. That's about it. It's one of the problems with inserting someone else's game is it actually generifies things, though that's a problem with Bubsy in general.
Yeah.
But this isn't all about Bubsy, because
Atari has made some mergers and acquisitions.
Yeah, like more investments, because I think what they did recently is being miscategorized. First of all, the thing that Atari's really been doing has been buying a whole lot of old intellectual property.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, a lot of that is to go in with the retro angle that they've been doing for about 4 or 5 years, ever since they got their new CEO. But like they purchased the Intellivision brand and as many games as they could from the Intellivision developers in order to help facilitate the DLC package, the first console war for Atari 50.
Mm-hmm. Also make
Because
people
apparently
from the 80s minds actively blow.
like the early 80s,
Yeah.
like because if you grew up in the NES generation, we've talked about this before. There was no console war. There was just Nintendo. It's the reason why for a period of time, video games was just a Nintendo.
Mm-hmm. And Nintendo hated that.
Well, Nintendo didn't like that because that would turn their trademark into a generic.
Yeah.
So you could not referring to video games as Nintendo in casual conversation, there is not much Nintendo can do about that. Referring to your store as World of Nintendo, that's when they got litigious because they needed to protect their trademark.
Mm-hmm.
Like putting putting tangents aside, what Atari has done is they have made a $5 million investment in the Thunderful Group. If you don't know who the Thunderful Group is, they're one of the larger entities in indie game publishing. First among their franchises is the SteamWorld series. They've got other games like Viewfinder, The Gunk, and so on and so forth. So kind of a bit of a mismatch in terms of the lion's share of what Atari's been doing versus what they've been investing. Not the complete set, because Atari has been doing some modern day things. Though that's been principally with their indie publisher offshoot Infogrames. They
I keep forgetting
revived
they have
Infogrames.
them.
Yeah, well, that's because there's not a lot under that umbrella. That's where they put some of the random ass indie franchises they purchased, like the Totally Reliable game, or Bread and Fred, or the Surgeon Simulator series. These are all things Atari bought and put under Infogrames. Not everything, like once again, a random IP purchase that they made was the assets of Runimo Games, which is the MOBA Awesome Knots, the casual RTS series Sword and Soldiers, and the RPG esque thing Blightbound. And like I said, Atari actually has purchased a lot of stuff. And they actually have a handy IP list here that actually needs to be updated since they've been doing these things. And, as in regard to the Thunderful Group, it's a situation that kind of mirrors what they did with GT Interactive back in the day, in that, they haven't necessarily acquired them, but they are the parent company. Okay, so to break it down a bit, they become the majority shareholder, in that they own about 86% of the or so of the shares, maybe 82%. I don't remember the figure offhand, other than it was like 80%, which is by far majority control. But you'll note that's not 100% of shares. So Thunderful is also still listed on the Swedish NASDAQ exchange. Like, you can still buy shares in this company, and it still follows the stock market. So it's not a wholly owned subsidiary or anything like that. Like I said, it's a bit of an unusual relationship, though I imagine if Atari, could eventually acquire 100% of the company, that's where things lie now. But it's not just Atari making an investment. They are adding board members to the Thunderful Group's board of directors. They are going to be inducing another restructuring, which is like the third one of these. This by the way is why Thunderful is needing Atari's help to continue to exist. They've had a bad run due to a combination of a lot of the factors that have been affecting the rest of the video game industry: overextension, i.e., they've been doing Embracer-like things, and a lot of their games just not selling all that well.
Yeah.
Like their last Lost in Random game was well below expectations, to the point where their CEOs are quitting. But Atari is still acquiring random ass IP, which it's kind of hard to track what they're doing, because nobody had Atari buys 5 random low level Ubisoft franchises or games, really. Like, one of these only one of these is what I would classify as a franchise. That's the Grow series, because 2 games can make up a franchise. One game, it's a stretch to call it a franchise, unless, was there a Cold Fear novel series? Was there a Child of Eden lunchbox? That kind of
there's
thing.
a lot of other medium stuff that it might count.
Yeah. And in the case of these games, I'm going to say no. Like, these were not games that were designed to be like Rayman, Just Dance, Assassin's Creed, etc., etc., etc. Most of these were one and done. They didn't sell well, or they weren't meant to be those kind of franchises, like the Grow series, which we have. We have Grow up here. This is a developmental experiment from Reflections. They felt like doing a new kind of platform game, so they did it. Like, it's much closer to an indie 3D platformer than a big time Ubisoft franchise.
Right.
Is what I'm saying. Hell, it doesn't even have Uplay in it. Neither
it
game
does.
has Uplay.
In the main menu, you can access Uplay.
Okay, what I mean is it doesn't have that forced integration shit that many Ubisoft games have.
Yeah. Like, it's
which
broken.
Which is probably which may have been a factor in the purchase of these franchises. I couldn't say, but like I said, it's just, once again, it's really random for them to grab some of these games. Some of them, I can suspect that certain people wanted these franchises to come to Atari. Like Cold Fear, that feels like a Night Dive movie if ever I've seen one.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure Night Dive was whispering in the ear, "Hey, yeah, we've been wanting this. Please, 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 Dad, please."
Yeah. And I could probably extend that to I Am Alive, which was an interesting experiment, just kind of bogged down by the developmental woes.
Yeah.
Like, the short story on that is it took about 7 years of development, 2 developers, and was a late stage Xbox Live Arcade title. But it was this weird kind of multiplayer platforming game, if I'm remembering correctly. I think that's the game. I could be thinking of something else.
Possibly.
And,
There was a
actually,
lot
no.
of generic stuff during that time frame.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to make sure I'm not getting that confused with like the ship,
Mm-hmm.
which was like another game from the initial developer, Darkworth.
Right.
That was kind of in the same mold, very multiplayer focused. And like Child of Eden, I just assumed they wanted that because it's very shiny and it's definitely the game with the biggest legacy attached to it, because that was the last great project by Q Entertainment. Obviously, not the last great project by the actual developers, because those people went on to become Enhance,
Mm-hmm.
which are still making games. We're on their press list.
Oh,
Um,
man.
Well, I mean, we've reviewed their games. I'm actually anticipating the new Luminous game that's coming out in December, I think. Mm, we'll probably get a code request for that. Um, but yeah, and the Grow games. Now, there are several good things here. That is, at the very least, Atari has intent to use these games.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, why would they buy them?
Right.
And when I say use these games, that means let me find the exact quote here, because they've been pretty upfront, like about as upfront as they can be at this stage. Yeah, millions. Millions of play. Yeah, Atari plans to quote unquote reintroduce these games by bringing them to new platforms and renewed publishing framework. Not exactly sure what the second buzzword pablum here means, but bringing them to new platforms is pretty straightforward.
Right.
That means bringing Cold Fear to the current set of consoles.
And possibly a, gussied up Night Dive PC port.
Yeah, because you can get Cold Fear on Steam right now and GOG. It's just,
It's rough
once
on
again,
modern Windows, like a lot of games from that era.
yeah, it's a 20-year-old game. Now, some of these games aren't going to need that kind of work. Like the Grow games here. Grow Up here came out in the PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
Grow Home came out in the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Yeah, that's a weird gap. They only released the first one on the PlayStation 4. But that's just last gen stuff. That just means you can apply a 4K patch or something like
Yeah.
that. Especially since this is Unity, although the work may have to be updating like what version of Unity this game is using. I do have to take that kind of thing into account.
Right.
But certainly less work than anything else here, because that's a compatible generation with the current line of console. And and also bringing any of these games to the Nintendo Switch.
Mm-hmm. Grow
Or
Home
Switch
could
2.
be interesting on the Grow games could be interesting on the Switch, depending on how they want to leverage the Joy-Cons or not.
Been playing Grow Home, and yeah, I could this feels like some sort of Joy-Con Nintendo motion control experiment at times.
Looking into it, I'm honestly shocked it didn't have a Wii version. This smells like it should have been a Wii game.
Once again, chalk that up to when these games were developed.
Right.
And also, like, Reflections probably didn't want to be constrained by Nintendo hardware.
Yeah, because it would have been what, Wii U?
Wii U. Well, in terms of consoles, yeah, it would have been Wii U, maybe the Nintendo Switch. That's still a constraint.
Yeah.
So, because these like the Grow games look pretty impressive. I will say that if I have a big problem with their art direction is they don't really rise above looking like Unity games.
Right.
Like they still have that basic Unity look that I'm not too keen on. It's fine, but I'm just saying it look like probably by design it looks pretty basic. But yeah, so Atari has a lot of things going on, and probably going to be doing more stuff that comes out of left field,
Yeah.
or buying other ancient retro brands. Like nobody's unearthed the Exidy games yet.
Yet.
Yeah.
Wasn't there
So
another Holy Grail Steven mentioned one of the last time he was on that he's been desperately searching for?
there have been a few. Right now, the big one that everyone's buzzing about that's never gonna happen is Eternal Darkness.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Because
not unless
Silicon
they want
Knights is...
no, Silicon Knights has nothing to do with it. Nintendo controls the property. Nintendo didn't seem to be too interested in it, in them remastering the game. That just may come down to the connections, or what have you.
Also,
Like
some of
Nintendo,
the like, I guess, fuckery in that probably won't hit as well with some modern audiences, like the whole blue screen,
well,
the static and stuff.
That is a big question with with Eternal Darkness, because I have Eternal Darkness coming out on Nintendo Classics, the NSO, if nothing else. But like, they may run into like the same problems with N64 controller packs.
Yeah. Well, and there's a
but
lot just like under the hood fuckery that's made Eternal Darkness hard to emulate.
But it's worth noting that Nintendo and Night Dive do have connections with each other, because as of tomorrow at this recording time, they're going to be releasing Forsaken 64.
Ooh.
And worth noting that like, unlike their re-releases of Turok 1 or 2, this isn't a what is the point re-release, because it's not like there's like there is a remaster from Night Dive of Forsaken, but that's only on the Xbox One and the PC for whatever reason. Never hit the PlayStation, never hit Nintendo platforms. Also, that was a mix of Forsaken and Forsaken 64. Forsaken 64 is actually a different game than Forsaken. It's not just a port with a 64 on the end there. As sometimes was the case. Anyway, so yeah. Also, it would be nice if Atari would answer their damn email. Well, once again, we've talked a lot about Atari games around.
I'm sure they're very busy.
Yes, but like even their press people are bad at that. Like Atari has a press firm that they use that I get mail from. So anyway, that'll about conclude this topic of conversation, and indeed this episode of Fragments of Silicon. So coming up on the week ahead, On Friday, September 5th, we will be welcoming Julian Marchetti of KI3 Games, developers of the upcoming game Seed of Life. We have a new episode of MSP waiting in the wings. And finally, coming up on the Sunday reviews, we'll be having reviews of Lonely Mountain, Snow Riders, Holy Shoot, Tori Saturn, and Star Racer. So look forward to all of that and more. And until next time, I shall wish you good gaming.